All right, I want to do one more poll. I want to find out, why are you interested in this program? Why accounting? Why a certificate program with UC Davis? So just go ahead and pick whatever one applies to you, and this will really help me tailor the presentation to know what you're interested in. Oh, wow. Okay. Liz is just collecting the results. We'll go ahead and put those up there for you. Yeah, so it looks like, wow, almost 3/4 of you are working in the accounting field and looking to advance your skills. Perfect. There's really no right or wrong answer, but I always like to know in this particular crowd what brought you here today. We have about 30% of you that are looking for a career change. That is really common. That's really what we at UC Davis Continuing Professional Education do best. And we design our courses so we have very few gates to get people, that people have to get through to enroll. We really want to cater to career changers. Some people need a certificate for their job or apply for jobs. Yes, that's very common, especially for people who did not minor or major in accounting as an undergrad. This is a great way to round out your education. And wow, only about 14% of you are interested in sitting for the CPA exam. Sometimes that's higher. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about that. Nobody's interested in the master's in accountancy. Also won't spend a lot of time on that then. And wow, almost half of you are just lifelong learners. And I'm sure some of you check that box in addition to another one, but that's great to hear too. And we've had a lot of people on our staff or people I know who aren't even in the financial field who have taken some of our classes because they're small business owners, or they're just people who want to know more about the accounting field. Great. All right. Okay, so let me go over the program information. So all of our courses are online and they're all 4-quarter credit units. So it's very simple. They're all the same price. They're all the same academic credit value. All of our courses are approved by the UC Davis Graduate School of Management. So these are academic courses. They're college level courses. And I always like to highlight that because not really as necessary perhaps in the accounting field, but I always want to remind people this isn't just training. This is an actual college course. You're going to want to give it the time and attention it deserves. We have designed our courses with maximum flexibility. So some people come to us and they just need a few courses to round out their profile, perhaps to sit for the CPA exam or to meet a need at work. And that's fine. As long as you meet the prerequisites, you can take any of our courses individually. You do not need to pursue a certificate with us. But other people really want the certificate, or the cluster of classes they need to take is going to amount to a certificate. That's great as well. We really try to be flexible. We've split the program into 2 certificate options because we offer a lot of accounting courses. And we have an accounting principal certificate and an accounting special certificate. And I'll go into a little more depth on that in a minute, but I want you to know that there are 2 separate ones, and each of them also has a fast track package, which I'll also talk about. To come sit for the CPA exam, you would basically, if you're starting from scratch, take all 9 of the courses we offer. That would give you 36 quarter credit units, or 24 semester units, which is what the CPA board generally talks in. And it would give you all the courses you need to sit for the exam. All right. I also like to mention to people, if you have taken a prerequisite elsewhere, that's fine. You don't need to take it again with us, but you are going to want to contact us to make sure that the prerequisite is commensurate with what we require, and that I can make a note in your file so that it won't cause any hurdles to you in the future. All right, so these are the certificates we offer. So we have a principal certificate, and we call this kind of core courses. So these are 4 basic accounting courses. This is pretty much the equivalent of an accounting minor. So for those of you who are starting fresh, this is where you would want to begin. For those of you who took quite a bit of accounting in college, you might be able to skip this portion. So you're going to always start with the prereq for the entire program or for any course in the program, and that's the principles of financial accounting. Then you're going to take Intermediate Accounting Part 1, and this particular course has to be taken before Intermediate Accounting Part 2. You cannot take these 2 concurrently. So Principles of Financial Accounting, you can actually take that at the same time as one of the other courses, that's fine. But for Intermediate Accounting, they have to be taken separately in order. So I always let people know that because it can really kind of wreak havoc with your schedule. And then the fourth core course we offer is Principles of Cost Accounting. This is also commonly called managerial accounting. So if you took managerial accounting in college or elsewhere, let us know and we'll make sure that it matches up. We also have our advanced certificate, and that's what we call our specialist certificate. And this is really designed for people who maybe you took quite a few courses as an undergrad and you just need these advanced courses to round out your education for professional advancement, to sit for the CPA exam. Or perhaps you've taken some accounting, like Principles of Financial Accounting, and you're working at a tax firm and you really just want to hone in on individual income taxation. That's fine. There's a lot of ways to achieve what you need to achieve. So for any of these courses, you don't need to have taken the Principles certificate with us. You just need to have taken Principles of Financial Accounting or Introduction to Financial Accounting with us or elsewhere. And you can always give us a call if you have any questions about this. I also like to highlight the fact that these particular courses are not offered as often as the Principles courses. The Principles courses are offered either every quarter or every other quarter. The specialist certificate courses are offered generally once a year. So you really want to plan your education thoughtfully. Now, the good news is they don't have to be taken in any particular order. They can be taken in any order. So we'll sit down with you, we'll go through and create a plan for you if you're going to be taking all the classes. And if you have changes, things come up at work or at home, we can usually replace things and move things around and still make it work.
So we have a couple of questions.
Sure.
What if we took accounting courses but 12 years ago? Would they still be valid?
So here's the thing, it gets a little tricky. For the prerequisite requirement, I'm not too concerned about dates. So if you took Principles of Financial Accounting in college years ago, I don't really care. Accounting, fortunately, isn't that dynamic, and the Principles class tends to stay pretty solid. That's fine. If you tell me you've taken that, I'll make a note in your file, take a look at your transcript to make sure that A, you got a C or better, and B, that it was essentially an academic course similar to the course we offer. The beautiful thing about accounting is the classes tend to be pretty straightforward. But I should let you know, if you want to do, for example, the first certificate, Principles, and you want to substitute a class, so you're not just using it as a prereq, but you actually want to substitute it and not have to take it with us, I do need that other class. You can do one class into a certificate program, but I need that class to be less than 5 years old. All your certificate, for an academic certificate, all the coursework has to be done within a 5-year period. Right. So there's also a couple ways you can do a certificate. So we're awash in choices. So the first way you can do it is at your own pace. And this is pretty common. And this is for people who have kind of unpredictable lives, unpredictable schedules. They know that their goal is to get an academic certificate, either the Principles, the specialist, or perhaps both. But they're not ready to go all the way through at once. They really need time and flexibility. Under this scenario, you would sign up at the beginning, wherever the beginning is for you, and you would go through each certificate program. As long as you finish within 5 years, you're fine. So some people start off and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fine. But this approach allows you to say summers are your busy season or tax season's really busy for you. You could skip a quarter and we don't care. Because basically you're enrolling in each course individually. You pay at the time for that one class, and then we may see you next quarter. We may not see you for 2 years. It's really up to you. Somewhere along the way, if you know you're going to want to earn a certificate, you are going to want to register for the certificate. That lets us know that you're not just taking classes casually or individually. You actually want to pursue a certificate. And there's a $125 fee for that. But you don't have to do that prior to taking classes. I always tell people, take your first class. Make sure the online format works for you. Make sure that going to school on top of work works for you. Make sure our program's the right program. And then once you feel comfortable somewhere during that first class or just after, then you can go ahead and register for the certificate. We also offer something called a fast track. So a fast track is something we created in response to student feedback. And this has 3 advantages. The first advantage is that you get the steepest discount. You get 15% off all your tuition, and the certificate registration fee is waived. Because we know by default, by being in the fast track, you're automatically committing to a certificate. The other advantage of this is you get priority enrollment in classes. So you're auto-enrolled. You sign up for the whole program. You pay for the whole program up front, and then we automatically enroll you. So that's another advantage. We take care of all your scheduling. And a lot of people, that wasn't the part I thought was going to be popular, but it's turned out to be really popular because people have so much on their plates. They don't want to deal with scheduling. They don't want to deal with flexibility. They come to me and they say, you know what? I know I want to do the program. Just sign me up. You know, I want to take advantage of the paying upfront discount and just commit me. This program, you basically go straight through. You just take one class at a time, but you go straight through. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're done in just a year or 18 months, depending on which program you pursue and when you start. So that has a lot of advantages. Having said that, this program is a commitment. So you pay the full tuition, you sign up for the fast track, you have 2 weeks to drop out. So what I always warn people is make sure that your lifestyle works for this. Make sure you have a pretty predictable handle on what your workload's going to be like, what your family obligations are. I know it's only a year, but a lot can change. I've had people who were unemployed, they've signed up for this, then they landed a job, and then they're like, oh, I need out. Well, you can get out, but you're going to incur penalties and fees, and I hate to see that happen. So if you have a lot of, you're actively job hunting, you think your life's going to change, maybe do the as you go. You can still achieve the same speed. You may not get the discount, but you have a lot more flexibility, and we can help guide you through this. All right, this just want to let you know what we're offering next. So every quarter we offer Principles of Financial Accounting. So that's going to come up on April 6th on our spring quarter. But we're also going to be offering some advanced courses. So if you already took that elsewhere, or maybe you've already done our program and you're just here to learn more, you can go ahead and take financial statement analysis or auditing. If you took Intermediate Accounting Part 1, you can go ahead and sign up for Part 2. And again, if you took any prerequisites at another institution, just let me know. That's not a problem, but I do need documentation. And you can enroll online, by phone, or you can call us for guidance first. All right, so let's do one more poll. I want to know a little bit about, now that you know how we offer the program, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. So are you only up for taking an individual course right now? Are you all in and you know you want to do the fast track package? Perhaps your employer's helping to subsidize or pay for the program, or you're getting special funding and you just want to launch in and be done as fast as possible. Or you're interested in pursuing a certificate, but your life's unpredictable, so you really just want to take it one quarter at a time. Or you don't know. You think you might be interested, but you want to learn more. Just collecting your responses. Okay, it's looking like the majority of you, almost 60%, are interested, which is great. And you want to get a certificate, very typical for the accounting program, but you want to do it at your own pace. There's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. And then some other folks are saying they just want to basically take 1 or 2 courses to start and see what they think, and that's fine too. No one at this point is really interested in the fast track, but again, it can be a little confusing, so I am happy to talk with you personally. All right. So I just want to introduce you to our instructors. One thing we're very proud of, and I think really sets us apart, is that all of our instructors are working professionals. So they're not professional professors. While they're very experienced as teachers and instructors, they all hold day jobs. They're all CPAs. In fact, in our case, they all have master's degrees as well in a variety of subjects, which I think makes them even better. We really try to find people from a wide range of industries. So we have a couple people in private practice. We have people who do consulting. We have one of our senior instructors who you hear from later. He actually works for the state. So it's a little different. And one thing I always like to mention that he highlights as well is that to work as an accountant for the state of California, you don't need to have your CPA. For whatever reason, you can work there. Most people, he said, in the senior levels, go ahead and pursue it. But he worked for many years for the state as an accountant until he got his CPA. So that's important. So don't feel pressure to do that right off the bat. So as I mentioned, we were fortunate enough to hear from Jim Beneman. He teaches our auditing class as well as accounting for government. And I'd like to play that interview because he has some really good information about both his experience and journey and also what he looks for as an instructor.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I'm excited to join this presentation today, and welcome here to my office here in Sacramento. Indeed, I'm at work today, just like you said. And yes, I've got some emails from students today asking questions.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Yeah, Jim's really responsive and really great working with the students. Jim, just to start off, I'd like you to tell everyone a little bit about your background and how you came to be an accountant.
Well, as I tell people when I tell my story, when I was a young man, if somebody would have told me when I was in my 20s that I would be end up in the accounting profession and I would be a CPA, I'd have told them they were nuts, because there's no way that I would have done that. My father was a CPA, and he worked really hard, and I wanted to go a different direction. So when I went to school, my first degree was I had a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Communication Arts, because I wanted to go in the broadcasting business. And I did that for a while. I went into the Air Force for a few years and worked in Armed Forces Radio and Television Service, which sent me overseas, and that was all fun. But there came a point when I had a kind of an epiphany, I guess you'd say, and I thought, do I really want to pursue this career, or do I want to do something different? So at the time, this is before the internet. As you can see, I'm not exactly a young guy here. So there was one day that I was wondering, well, I wonder what kind of jobs are out there. So I picked up a copy of the LA Times on a Sunday and looked at the job ads, and I noticed there were 6 pages of accounting and auditing jobs. So I thought, well, maybe this is something worth looking at, even though this is what my dad did, and but maybe I should take another look at it. And well, as it turns out, I went back to school and got my master's degree in accounting. I went to the University of Cincinnati and graduated in 1979, and started working in banking. So I spent my first 14 years in the banking industry. And the banking industry was a pretty good place to work, but it got to a point where banks started to buy and sell each other. So I thought, well, maybe I should make a career change to something else. And I moved to California and ended up with a job here at the State Controller's Office in California, where I've been now I just had my 25th anniversary here just a few months ago.
Wow.
So along the way, I got my CPA certificate in 2004. So it's been a pretty good ride. This has been a really good career for me. And I've been working for UC Davis Extension since 2011. Back when I started with the school, we had only live classes. So I've seen us transition from doing all live classes now to all online classes. And that's been fun to be a part of. So.
Jim, you brought up a good point, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on something. So you mentioned that you worked for the state for a long time as an accountant, but you didn't actually sit for the CPA exam until about 15 years ago. So is it true that to hold the position of accountant at the state of California, you don't necessarily need a CPA?
No, there's no requirement that I'm aware of in any organization and with the state to be a CPA. Generally speaking, the requirement to be a CPA is in private accounting firms. But here at the state, folks want to be a CPA because they want to use it as a way for promotion and to get into management primarily.
Mastery, right?
Yeah, well, that too, yes.
No, that's a very good point, because I want to mention that because a lot of people come into our program and their goal is to sit for the CPA exam, but that is a very challenging exam. And so I also want to let people know that this could be a journey. You can take our courses. If you decide to take our courses a la carte, you have 5 years to complete your certificate work. So really don't overpressure yourself. Remember that there's a lot of job opportunities with accounting knowledge that don't require you to necessarily sit for the exam. And that's something you can do as you get further along in your profession. So Jim, what would you recommend to students who are looking to start the program and take your courses?
These courses are they're pretty fast paced. We move along at a good pace. In my auditing class, we go through 21 chapters in 12 weeks. In the government accounting class, we go through 18 chapters in 12 weeks. So it moves along at about the same pace as a master's program. And what I've always told all my students in my classes is that if you don't have a background in accounting terminology, you haven't taken any accounting courses at all, then you're probably going to get lost in the first couple of weeks, because both of my classes presume you have an understanding of accounting.
And the prerequisites too, which are several.
Right. Yeah. But, and I've noticed that I have a mix of students that are in all different places. Some of them have accounting degrees. Some of them have degrees in all types of things. And they're scattered now all across the country. And if they're willing to put in the time, there is a lot of time required to work on these courses. Because like I said, if you look at my textbook, it's a lot of complicated material and we go through it pretty quick, but we try to, through the lectures and the homework, try to make it, simplify it as best we can so it's understandable. And so it seems to work because most of the students do pretty well.
Yeah, and that's something I want to let people know, because we often get that question, how many people succeed? The high majority of our students pass our courses and successfully get a certificate in the time they allotted. So I think most of our students have some college under a belt. You're not required to, but they understand the importance of studying. It's really about putting the time in. I don't think it's rare for us to encounter a student who doesn't have the capability to fulfill the course requirements. Right. It's really just whether they have the discipline and time to put in the commitment. And as I mentioned, for a 4 credit unit class, you're going to want to plan about 10 hours a week per class. So you don't want to overload yourself. There are weekly assignments and weekly due dates, which I think really helps keep people on task. But also at the same time, the majority of our students are very successful. And so I think if you're realistic and you plan ahead, you'll do fine. So I do want, Jim, to ask you to talk a little bit, since you are a career changer yourself, I'd like you to talk a little bit to our career changers, because a lot of people come in and they're worried that they're already going to be behind or that it's going to be too big of a change. So if you could talk a little bit about your experience with students who've been on that path.
Well, yeah, I had that same issue because when I decided to go into accounting, I was already in my early 30s. And, usually by the time you're in your early 30s, a lot of people are expecting you to have already a career in mind and be well along the path. But I decided to switch midlife, I guess you'd say. But it worked out. You're never really, we have a wide range of people here at our office. We have a lot of young folks in their early 30s and 40s and some older people. I think what I would say for career changers, if you're going to the accounting profession, you need to kind of figure out whether you want to go into auditing or accounting, because those are the two main professions for accounting jobs. They're quite different jobs. In auditing, you can be an external auditor or an internal auditor. In accounting, there's a wide range of different things that you can do. But they're very different kinds of jobs, in that auditing requires you to usually go out to somebody else's place of business and figure out how their accounting system works and work with accounting statements and compliance issues and work with people a lot. Accounting jobs mean you're probably sitting at a desk creating financial statements or financial reports, and you're doing a routine over time, over 30 days, 6 months, and a year. So they're very different jobs. And the other thing I would say is I've heard people say, I want to get a job in accounting because I can make good money. And that's about the worst reason to go into a job. If you don't have a passion for working with numbers and also working with people that, work with those numbers, you may make good money, but you're not going to like it. So.
That's a good point. That's a valid point. We noticed in our poll that kind of the largest group of people who are here today are interested, at least at some point, in sitting for the CPA exam. We talked a little bit about that, but and we'll talk to a Becker rep later on in the webinar. But anything you'd like to share about the exam in particular from your experience?
Well, exam is certainly difficult. That hasn't changed over time. I get a quarterly magazine from the Board of Accountancy, and so the pass rate is still running around 50%, and it's been that way for years. The exam is quite different now than when I took it. When I took it, it was a paper exam. Now everything's online. So it's a different process, but the exam questions haven't changed any. You're still required to understand a lot of material. And I think the thing about the CPA exam, it's not, if you're smart enough to pass college courses or get a degree at a college or university, you're smart enough to take the CPA exam and pass it. What makes the exam hard is the amount of material that's on it. I used to go into it I remember going into the CPA exam, I felt like my head was the size of a basketball because all the stuff I jammed into my brain to pass the course. And that's what makes it hard because of the amount of material. But there are really good resources out there for studying for the exam. The Becker course is one of them, and we'll be talking to a Becker rep here shortly. There's a lot of other materials that you can use, and I know that I used, and it worked out really well. So that's, yeah, in a nutshell, that's pretty much.
Be prepared. Yeah, don't underestimate it. Yeah,
it's not easy by any means, yeah. But it's doable.
Okay, well, that's always good. So Jim, before we leave you today, well, Jim will stay with us for the Q&A, but before we move on, is there anything else you want to share with people interested in taking our courses?
Well, our courses do cover a wide range of subjects, whether you're going to be a career changer or for the CPA, studying for the CPA exam. I know I've talked to the different instructors that you saw their pictures here earlier, and I feel like our program really does a really good job of explaining how accounting works out in the real world. I've always marveled at, courses I've taken in the past at college, at how you take a course and you go through this textbook and you get out in the real world and it's different. Well, I know in my two courses, that's definitely not the case. And I've always enjoyed hearing from students that have taken our courses. They get back to me sometimes and let me know how things worked out for them. And it's exciting to hear how they've gone on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right, well, thank you so much, Jim.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I'm excited to join this presentation today, and welcome here to my office here in Sacramento.
Well, thanks for listening to that, everyone. I think that Jim presented a lot of really useful information. So let me get my video going again. So hopefully you found that helpful. We did have a few questions that I wanted to address, and one of them was, how much time do I need to spend on each course? And that's a really great question. So basically, as I mentioned, all the accounting courses are 4 credit units. So what I equate that to is about 8 to 12 hours of work a week. So here's how it works. All the classes are online. So there's no synchronous sessions. And what I mean by that is there's no live lecture or meetings that you have to attend in real time. So anything the instructor does, like a video or a personal message, is going to be something you can watch at your leisure. We have people who take this program from all over the world, so we really try to be sensitive to that. Your assignments are going to be due weekly, though, so it's not completely self-paced, wide open throughout the quarter. It is a accounting class, it's cumulative, so each week you'll have your assignments for that lesson due. But over the course of a week, I would plan, depending on your experience, depending on your study habits, but I would plan on spending about 8 to 12 hours a week per course. So occasionally I have people come to me who are in a huge accelerated path and they want to take 2 courses at a time. We don't prevent people from doing that. We realize some people are working part-time, some people are unemployed, or some people are just super organized. That's fine, but I always want you to know what you're getting into. So these are college level courses and you're going to want to spend a significant amount of time. But it's totally manageable while working full-time. Most of our students do. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about program costs, just because I know that's information you'll need. So the tuition for every class in the accounting program is $880, and that's plus textbooks. Accounting textbooks have come way down. There's a lot more options now. They're available as rentals. They're available online. So, but you're still looking at about the $50 to $100 per textbook. So for the whole program, you're looking at a few $100s each quarter. And I'm happy to share the textbook list with anyone who needs it. You're also gonna, if you're not doing the fast track and you're not just taking classes casually, you're also gonna wanna pay the certificate registration fee, and that's $125. And then lastly, we offer a slew of discounts. Now the discounts cannot be combined, that's very important, but I'll just walk you through real quick and I'm happy to answer any questions. We did talk about the fast track, so that's the steepest discount. That's 15% off all the courses and you waive the registration fee. We also have early enrollment. So if you're someone who's really organized, you know what you want to do, if you enroll 2 weeks prior, you can get just $50 off right off the top. If you're a member of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association, and you don't have to be a student alumni to do that, parents and others can join as well, you get $50 off every course. And if your company is going to send, say, 3 or more people to the same course, let us know, enroll together, and you'll get 10% off for all of you. And then of course the $100 discount for today. So you want to use your discounts thoughtfully and apply them, like maybe use the $100 on your first course and the early bird on your next course. Just different things you can do to help bring down the cost. All right, we do have some information on financing your education. The fullest selection of information is on our website under Student Services, Financing Your Education, and we'll send that link in the follow-up email. But basically, we don't, because we're not a matriculated degree program, we don't have the full range of financial aid that you might be familiar with from your undergraduate years, but we do have some preferred partner lenders, private lenders that a lot of people use. There's a lot of job training funds out there. If you're a veteran, there's a lot of options, and there's also some tax credits. So I definitely encourage you to investigate that. Check out the website. If you still have questions or you know you're eligible for like WIOA, Workforce Reinvestment Funding, but you need to know how your tuition is going to get paid, go ahead and call Student Services. They have 2 staff members who specialize in special funding, and they can help you with any questions you have. All right, we're going to do one last poll. So it always helps me to know how much experience our prospects have. So we're going to ask you a little bit about how much accounting coursework you've done. And there's no wrong answer. I've had students right out of high school. I've had students who were theater majors. It's all good. All that matters is you have an interest in math and you want to learn more about accounting. So we have a few options here, and just pick what best applies to you. All right. So it's looking like, it's pretty split, but it's looking like a good number of you were at least business majors in college, about half of you. So that's great. And that means that you're going to have some basic coursework. I do sometimes have people who say, oh, you know, I was in college years ago. I want to start from the beginning just, you know, to make sure it's fresh. That's fine. But if you have taken some accounting or you were an accounting minor or major, you might want to go ahead and start right off with a specialist certificate, or really talk with the CPA board about how the coursework you've taken and then any coursework you take with us, how it all adds up to qualify you to sit for the exam, things like that. The exciting thing is it looks like there's no one who hasn't had any contact with business or economics or accounting courses. So that really helps. It just helps you know the language, you know the procedures, you know the concepts. All right. So I want to take a moment to introduce you to one of our graduates. This is Terry Taylor, and Terry took all 9 courses in our program. She knew from the beginning that her goal was to sit for the CPA exam, and she was a career changer. So she really needed all the classwork from start to finish. And Terry was nice enough to contact us after she graduated and let us know how much she enjoyed the program, how much she learned, and we really find that her story is valuable. It does a better job than I ever could in kind of telling you what the experience was like for someone and what it's done for them now in their career. So I'm going to go ahead and play that interview with Terry.
Well, Terry, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Obviously, you have a lot of experience in business, and we would love to hear about just that sort of brief intro to yourself, and then we'll ask you some questions.
Certainly. I am a business professional. I started off in technology straight out of undergraduate about 20 plus years ago. And I morphed into more of a business sales and marketing role, and that's where I spent the bulk of my career. But what I started looking at during some shifts in our economy back in 2008, I looked at the turnover in my industry. I looked at, where I wanted to be 20 years from now, career-wise, and starting to augment my skills. And I started looking at what industries were very stable and what kind of professions were pretty much ubiquitous. And accounting is an excellent profession. I did a lot of research on the profession, and it's in every industry. Everywhere you look, there is a need for an accountant or a CPA. And so I started researching the programs that were available to me and seeing how they would, augment my skills. And the people that I talked to, and a few of the professors, they talked about accounting being a recession-proof profession. And as someone who is currently working in an accounting role and going through a lot of interviews, I can tell you it absolutely is a recession-proof industry, that profession specifically. my background was pretty much, it was utilizing a lot of aspects of thinking like an accountant, but there was a lot of information that I needed that accounting provides. Accounting is a language of business, and it fills in those holes that you don't necessarily have in your toolkit. And so it made me a better, well-rounded professional. And now I'm seeing that bridge, that connection in the different industries I've looked at and interviewed with as an accountant. And it's just created this complete picture for me where I had those knowledge gaps before. I don't know if you want to ask me a question or just.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when you were looking, considering your options, how did you choose UC Davis Extension? What appealed to you?
You know, I had compared quite a few programs, and I started narrowing them down based on a couple of key things that really were key for me. The modality was a big factor. Were the classes available online? The quality of the instruction, you know, were the instructors real world experts in their respective areas of accounting? Were they strictly academians? Cost was another factor, and timeline. How long would it take me to complete the program? And so when I searched for a program that I thought would fit my particular needs and, you know, balance with my work life, you know, home life, UC Davis was on the top of my list. I looked at the cost. It was equal to any other program out there, but I noticed that it was, you know, less costly. I liked the profile of the instructors. I liked the modality. I consequently completed my entire program online. I had given myself 2 years to do it, and I completed it in about 18 months. And, you know, just looking back at one of the major things that appealed to me with the extension program at UCD was that it assumes you have no prior accounting experience or education. And that's where I wanted to start, because my goal was to become a CPA and to schedule my first exam this fall. It was something that was important to me because some programs out there, they required a prerequisite or two before you can enter a certificate program. That just feasible.
Okay, so Terry, I think we're getting a little bit of interference with your audio, so we'll just try to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll just try to keep an eye on that. I know that you were just sharing that that the fact that you could enter the program without necessarily prior experience or prior educational requirements was a key point for you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Great. And what are some of the key skills that you learned, or like some of the projects that you worked on or things that you did in your classes that really translated into your career that you saw an immediate gain from?
Well, at the time that I started the program, I was serving on a board of directors as the finance and budget chair. And my second class that I took was in governmental accounting. And I was amazed by the immediate connection of being able to apply what I was learning about governmental and nonprofit accounting to that environment, and being able to take very technical information, being able to communicate with the accountant for the nonprofit and break down those, numbers to non-numbers people. The majority of our board was not comprised of business people, but of educators. And so financial statements were not something they were used to looking at. They weren't used to looking through things like that and making very wise decisions financially, determining how they would, allocate money for the nonprofit. So that was an immediate use of those skills. And I also was, let's see, at that time, I'm trying to think, I took governmental accounting, and I also took financial statement analysis. And that was, again, another huge skill set, asset for me, because it was just a great pairing at that time. And since then, just looking back at all the classes, each class, you're going to walk away with a skill set because accounting builds on itself. One of the things you will learn as you progress through the program, every course you take has significant tools to teach you, and they build on one another. And there, is this entire quantitative and very conceptual thought process, these skills that you develop throughout the program. Another very essential skill set in the governmental accounting is when I transitioned into doing internships with the government and working on governmental financial statements and being able to work on different federal awards, I was able to translate those skills directly from the class into those particular jobs and those roles. Overall, there's just so much you will gain going through the program. You will become, very well versed in accounting. You will learn the core essentials that you need to prepare you for the CPA exam. And you will feel confident when you come out that you are capable of going into any entry-level accounting position or preparing for your CPA exam, whatever your particular goal is. You will be prepared. The instructors are excellent. Their experience is, you're talking about people with over 20 and 30 years of experience in the bulk of these courses. So my being able to approach them with questions that sometimes, yes, they were founded in the particular class I was taking that quarter, but a lot of times I was applying them to my job or my service on that, on the board of the nonprofit. They were able to answer questions that otherwise I would have to figure out on my own. So having that accessibility to those professors was hugely impactful for me.
Great. And what advice do you have for prospective students?
My advice is to really look at your work-life balance and know that this particular program, for me, my life was super busy. Just as a caveat, while I was attempting to get through my program, I was also in graduate school at the same time. So I was handling a master's degree plus this program, work, and serving on a nonprofit. I wouldn't suggest going through a master's program at the same time, but I was able to do that because the modality of this program, being able to access my professors, time management is your biggest skill to managing your course load. My biggest advice to you is to look at your current work schedule, because most people who are going through extension are working professionals. Look at your work and life schedule and know that you can get through these classes and you can do very well in them. I was able to look at all the classes being offered each quarter, and I literally scheduled every single class through my entire program during my first quarter. And I was able to adjust my work-life balance with my academic pursuits. Every single quarter I knew what, how to plan and schedule my life. And you want to look at your program the way you look at a job. You want to set aside time to be in class, to participate in your chat room, to deal with your homework, because when you're dealing with an online program, if you choose to pursue all of your classes online, you need to really manage your time. That's one of the biggest takeaways I had was time management, but I did it. And if I had to do it again, I would do this program again.
Great.
Because it was excellent for me. It really was easy to manage my time. I got really good at that.
Well, Terry, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Obviously, you have a
All right. I hope you found that interview helpful. I think it's really important to hear from someone who's been through it. So I just want to cover one more thing before we get to our Q&A, and that is the masters. I know a lot of you said you weren't interested in the masters, but I always like to mention that our courses do serve as prerequisites if you do decide to go on and take a master's at UC Davis in the accounting program. So that's at the Graduate School of Management, and more information is online. All right, so this completes the formal part of our presentation. And at this point, I want to open it up to Q&A. Liz has been collecting questions all along, and then also this is a chance to do more. And it's okay, if you think of something after the info session that you meant to ask us, our email's up there on the screen. You can go ahead and contact us and someone will get back to you. But I could also like to answer the questions now so that I can have everyone hear the answer. So a few questions that we've gotten in. Do I have to have any accounting experience to start the program? And we talked about this a little bit when I did the poll, and the answer is no. If you start with the principles of financial accounting, you could have been an art major. You could, like I said, I had that one student who was right out of high school. We will give you everything you need. There's no entrance exam, there's no application process. You can just sign up for classes, and as long as you start with the first class in the program, dive in. And so I think that's what makes our program really accessible. Okay, so here's a good question. Is there a recommendation of what order to take the classes in? So as I mentioned, it's all about prereqs, and that's a big thing in any kind of accounting or science programs. So you'll want to have principles of financial accounting or introduction to accounting either with us or from somewhere else before you can take anything else. However, if you are working on an accelerated schedule, you can take that class concurrently with one of the other classes. That is the prerequisite for any other class in the program. The other prerequisite that's really important to be aware of is intermediate accounting, part 1 and part 2. You have to take part 1 first, and you cannot take it concurrently with part 2. It has to be taken first. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. But after those 2 caveats, you basically can take any of the courses in any order you want. And that really is helpful because, as I said, we don't offer every single class every single quarter. So it really helps you have flexibility to move around. And not everybody wants to take every course we have. Some people have no need to take accounting for government and nonprofits. They know they're going to work in the private sector. Some people have no interest in taking taxation. So that's fine. So you can take them in the order that you need to. Okay, and then the last question I got was, when's the best time to start the program? And really the beauty of this program is you can dive in any quarter. So you can start at any time. Just make sure that during that particular quarter that you've signed up for a class, you have the time to commit to it. Or if you're doing the fast track and you want to say start in the spring, make sure the next 12 or 15 months is good for you and that you can commit time to it. Totally doable. Majority of our students work full-time. I've done our courses while I've worked here full-time. You can totally do it. You just need to manage your time, as Terry said, and you just need to also be cognizant of that refund period. I always tell people, be a good consumer. We offer a 2-week full refund period on all of our classes. So don't not log in till the end of the first week, or not make sure that you've paid attention to the dates, because that's your time to let us know that you need to drop, and you'll get your money back. I think there is a $30 administrative fee, but beyond that, you'll get, whether it's the fast track payment or the individual class payment. If you drop within the first 2 weeks of the class, you'll get your money back. But after that, you have a lot fewer options. So you really just need to be thoughtful.
And then I have one last question.
Okay.
I have never taken an online course. So I'd be trying to take principles accounting first and then decide to take the fast track principles certificate. Is that okay, or do I need to decide it first before the fast track?
Yeah, so the fast track is a package. So you'll need to enroll specifically in that program from the very beginning. So for people who've already taken a class with us, or you want to take a class and think about it, no, the fast track's not going to work. However, as I mentioned, you could sign up for the fast track, be optimistic, take that first class, get through it, but say after the first class, you're like, you know what? I gotta go a la carte. I can't do this fast track. As long as you let us know within the first 2 weeks of when your second class has begun, we can give you the balance of your fast track. You're gonna have to go back to paying full price and all that, but at least you'll get the bulk of your money. We're never gonna charge you for a class that you haven't started yet, even in the fast track. But the fast track is a commitment you're gonna have to make right from the first enrollment. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to put student services information up here again. This is our website address. You can enroll right online, or if you're more comfortable or you have special funding, you can enroll by phone. You can also enroll in person. It just is less common nowadays. Our staff at Student Services are there Monday through Friday. And this information will all be in the follow-up email as well, so don't rush to write it down. And then lastly, this is Liz and Jen and my information in the counseling office. So we run the program. We're the most familiar with the intricacies of the program. So if you feel more comfortable talking with us, you can either call Student Services and have it transferred up to us, or you can call this number and we'll make sure that someone either gets back to you or someone's available. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I really look forward to seeing you in our classes. Bye-bye.